Hello, folks, and welcome to the Counting Sheep podcast. This is episode 33. I'm your host, Ruth. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back if you're a returning listener, and if you're new here, welcome as well. This is my podcast about all things fibery, and I usually am accompanied by my co-host, Cooper, who is my golden retriever, and you'll hear him probably tapping around on the deck as we move along here. I am coming to you from my backyard of my home in Vermont. Coming to you a little bit later in the day than usual. I've had to compete with a lot of noise and sound and whatnot, which is unusual for our little quiet hill here in Vermont. But my neighbor has been out doing a whole bunch of yard work, but at least it's not the high whine of a weed whacker anymore. It's just the low, noisy hum of a riding mower at this point. But then my chickens also started acting up. They have once in a while a clucking session, and it goes on forever, and it sounds like somebody's being murdered, but everything's fine. They just like to voice their opinion once in a while. But yeah, here I am. So my fiber interests are crochet, knitting, spinning, and also I tend to give you a little bit of taste of Vermont here at the podcast. And this time around, it is the Tunbridge World's Fair, which is an agricultural fair that takes place every year in Tunbridge, Vermont, in September. And it's mostly very agriculturally, animal-wise oriented. They also have farm equipment there. They also have judging of various vegetables, and they also have a needlework display that's also judged. I was there primarily to demonstrate spinning, along with the Six Loose Ladies Fiber Shop, which is a local yarn store here in Chester, Vermont. And so I was there spinning for a good part of the day, and my husband Ed was around taking footage and pictures for me. So I'm very thankful to have a lot of the footage that you'll see in this video from him. He's a much better photographer than I am, so I'm very grateful to have that. I'll probably have put some in the beginning, and I'll stick some at the end. I'll probably put the pig races in at the end because they're the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. Really high up on the hilarity meter. So hope you enjoyed that. So I have no finished objects for you this time around, unfortunately, but I have been putting quite a bit of work into a lot of things. So I'll share my progress with you. I usually start with crochet, and that's what I will do right now. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm making a most unusual garment called the Janie joggers. This is a pattern by Courtney Clark of Tinderbox, and I am doing it in Jagger Spun Cocadjo, which is a 90% superwash merino, 10% silk. And unfortunately, this past week, I heard from several sources that they are going out of business. They're closing their doors in 2025. And I went online, and for sure they have announced that. They are still selling yarn. They are just not going to be manufacturing more yarn. So they have sold off their equipment apparently, and the facility that they are at in Maine is already rented out to somebody else. So yeah, a little bit upset. Well, I can't tell you, not a little bit. I think I was very, very sad to hear that they were going out of business. They have a wonderful product, and I have made garments from their products, from their yarn, and with very wonderful results. So I am going to miss them very dearly. And this is one of their yarns. This is called the Cocadjo, and it is the Riverwalk colorway. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to go and buy a whole bunch before they close their doors altogether. But anyway, this is the Janie joggers, and you will see that I have made quite a bit of progress. I am done with the first leg, and I will back up just to show you what these look like. So this is the first leg, and as you can see, I put a stitch marker here. It's going to blend in with the shirt I have on, but that's where I was 2 weeks ago, and got the entire first leg done. You will see that it's got a 3-inch cuff on the bottom, which is done in a different stitch than the rest of the leg is. And I have started, here's the top, I have started the second leg. It's getting quite creased from being in my bag, but it lives outside of the bag more now than inside. I'm happy to report. Very well written pattern, and obviously start from the waistband and then work your way down to the end there. And I've been trying them on as I go, and I just love that. So yeah, this has turned out to be a very fun project, and I highly recommend. Here is the back, in case you're wondering. So nice shaping in the back, and this is what the yarn looks like as you're crocheting it up. So yeah, not too much further to go. This has taken a couple of months to do. I think I really truly started working on them back in June, and working on them, you know, like with a purpose. So yeah, and I am, obviously this is a fingering weight yarn, so I'm on a small hook. This is a C or a 2.75 millimeter hook. And after this ball, I have 3 skeins left of, and I believe they're the half skeins. They're the 50-gram skeins, so a little bit over 200 yards per skein. And yeah, that should do me. Not really planning on putting the pockets on, so I'll show you a picture of what they look like. And it's hard to see from the picture, but these have 4 pockets, 2 on each side here. Yeah, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to do pockets. It'll depend on whether I want to use this yarn for something else. So, and I'm actually getting a really nice fit out of this pattern, as well as it looking good on my body. So I don't know if I want to add any more extra bulk to the hip area or to the thigh area, so, or the side thigh area. So yeah, those are the Janie joggers, coming along nicely. Very proud of those. I'm gonna put those right over here, out of the way. And then my next project, I mentioned last week that I joined in with a crochet along for a shawl. And the designer is, let me just check my notes here. The designer's Vicki Brown of Vicki Brown Designs, and she's also a indie dyer from the UK. She has her own business with that, and she put out a mystery crochet along pattern. And we get a piece of the pattern for 5 weeks. The pattern clues come out on Thursdays, and we've had 3 clues so far. So the 3rd clue just came out this past Thursday, and it's called the Oblique Shawl. So there's the picture of it. Obviously it's grayed out, so and it is a true mystery. You don't really know what the shawl is going to look like until the end. But I'm really enjoying doing this shawl. crocheting the shawl up, I just want to share it with you. This past clue, this third clue, we added these kind of flower motifs. So yeah, and as you can see, it's one of these shawls with a unique shape, kind of like an arrow. It's pointy down here where you start. And this is Vicki Brown's hand-dyed yarn. This is the main color, which I'm not sure there's a name for this yet. It came along with the, you know, the two contrast colors. The two contrast colors have names. This one is Malachite and this one is Ruby. This is her Socks Yay, which is 75% fine superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. So yeah, that's these two contrast colors, which are really working well with the main color. But here's kind of an idea of what the whole theme looks like. So yeah, really fun. And she also provided video support for this section as well, which I really appreciated. I think it helped me a lot understand how she does this color work, and she's calling it a mixture of tapestry and mosaic crochet. And truly it is. It's a combination of the two techniques, but it makes it much easier to do the color work than to have to do a few stitches, drop a color, do a couple of stitches, drop that color, you know, that kind of thing, and carry the color along. You work one color at a time with this type of technique, which is really very, very doable and nice. So yeah, that's my oblique shawl. 2 more clues to go. One this coming Thursday, and then the following Thursday will be the last, and then I'll probably work the ends in and block it, and I'll show you the finished product. I'll actually have a finished object. I know I had a finished object the last time, which was really quite the accomplishment, the Stephen West Fiberfest shawl, which yeah, I recommend just patterns. I just think you have to take them in small doses. Somebody asked me, oh, you know, are you going to do the mystery shawl along in October? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, even though it comes to you in sections and that sort of thing. His shawls are very very involved, and they're quite the commitment. So yeah. So I got my co-pilot here, my co-host Cooper at my legs. So he's been walking around. When he hears my voice, he likes to make sure that the premises are secured, you know, so he's my good guy. All right, so that's my second whip in progress. The next one I want to show you is my sweater for the Woolly Thistle sweater make-along. I am going to Rhinebeck this year. I can hardly believe it, with a whole bunch of the Woolly Thistle girls. And I believe this is going to be my Rhinebeck sweater, even though I've never made a Rhinebeck sweater in my life. When I go to Rhinebeck, I just go. I don't have any goals in mind or whatever, but since the sweater make-along kind of coincided, the dates kind of coincided with Rhinebeck, I decided to make this my Rhinebeck sweater. In terms of color, there is no color work. I know a lot of Rhinebeck sweaters tend to use a lot of colorful patterns and that sort of thing. This is not. This is one color. It is a crocheted sweater. I showed it the last time. This is called the Driftwood Pullover 2024, and it's by KayKrochets, otherwise known as Kayla Wood. It is a Tunisian crocheted pattern, and I am actually going to do mine as a cardigan, just because I like easy off, easy on type sweaters. As of right now, that could change, but that's what I'm looking at. I decided to start with my sleeves so that sleeve island would not become an issue for me. Here is my hook. Let me just show you. This is size G hook, I believe I'm using. No, I lied. It's a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter hook. And then this is a swivel cord that I'm using, which makes the process so much easier. I am using Mountain Meadow Cody yarn in the spruce colorway. This is 2-ply sport weight, and it's 100% mountain merino wool from Buffalo, Wyoming. So yeah, and it's very, very squishy yarn. So here are my sleeves. You can see this is a very textured pattern. So I started with my sleeves. This is a very tonal yarn as well. So yeah, those are the sleeves. And then I started the back portion, the back panel, I should say. And that's what the back panel looks like. So as you can see, really nice texture there. This yarn brings out the texture very nicely, pattern-wise. So yeah. She has you leave a really long thread in the beginning, a long yarn tail in the beginning for seaming. Yeah, and so that is the Driftwood. I'm calling it Driftwood Pullover cardigan because mine's going to be a cardigan for sure. Yeah, and coming along quite nicely. So I like Tunisian crochet. It's just, you know, a little takeoff on crochet, and the fabric is just really nice and drapey. So very nice project, and that's coming along nicely as well. Alrighty, let me try to put some things in the proper bags here so that later on I don't really have a mess. I have a mess anyway, but alright, so that was all of the crochet. And for knitting, I have two things to share. Last time I shared the Wharf Street pullover vest with you. It's a project I started while I was trying to finish up the Stephen West shawl, and it just kind of offered me somewhat of a brain break from all of the brioche and that sort of thing that was going on in that shawl. This is a pattern by Elizabeth Smith Knits, and she is one of our New England designers. She hails from Maine, and I actually printed out the color picture this time around, so because all I have is all the black and white. So yeah, that's actually, I think she took this picture on Wharf Street in Portland, Maine. So, and the vest is named after the cobblestones on the actual street there. And I am doing mine in Harrisville Highland wool, so New England wool. This is from Harrisville Designs in Harrisville, New Hampshire. This is a worsted weight yarn. And I'm gonna just grab my vest, which fell on the floor. It's not a podcast until something falls on the floor. All right, let me show you this. I'm about 1.5 inches from dividing for the armholes. So here it is. This is a pretty color. I forgot to tell you the colorway. It's Jade. Yep, and this is the Highland from Harrisville. So yeah, another textured pattern. So I'm really getting into textures lately. So there's that. And her patterns, Elizabeth's patterns are wonderful. I've made a couple of hers already. I had to go down in needle size just because I'm a very loose knitter, but I think the pattern calls for a size 8. Yeah, size 8 circular. And so I'm on 7 to get gauge. Yeah, and this is just a lovely yarn for this. Highland comes in so many different colors, so you won't want for any color of the spectrum. So yeah, and knits up pretty quickly. I just haven't devoted a lot of time to it because I've been working on these other things. But yeah, definitely want to get that done. I'll be going to Harrisville at the end of the month, but I will talk about that in a minute, and maybe hopefully I'll have this done by then. That'd be cool if I could wear a vest made out of their Highland to the actual workshop that I'll be at. Let me make sure I told you everything about that. Wharf Street Vest by Elizabeth Smith. This is actually one of her newest patterns. It came out a couple of weeks ago. I get Elizabeth Smith's newsletter every Friday night where she gives tips and that sort of thing and updates of her new patterns. So, all right, and then finally in knitting, I just wanted to show you this. I finally got this started. For viewers of the podcast, you know I was working towards spinning up the yarn for the shift. I had 3 different rovings, which 2 of them contain silk. One has some bamboo in it, and the other one is just pure. Let me see. This one here is 100% Targhee wool top. So there's that one. Oh, I am in a tangle here. This is from Miss Babs. This is 80% merino, 20% silk. And then this one has the bamboo, silk, and Targhee. Yeah. So kind of a theme going on here. Targhee, silk, bamboo. So those are my 3 colors. And quite frankly, I'll tell you, I started it and, you know, I am just amazed with this patterning. I mean, it is so nice. I don't think you could go wrong with anything that you choose. She specifically chose for the pattern some spin cycle yarn, which, as you know, is very colorful and very kind of Barber Pole-y in areas. And so is mine. You know, it is not by any means homogeneous, except for maybe this color. But the way it works up is just gorgeous. I hope the lighting is good enough out here. The sun is setting, so that's supposed to be good color for photography, but it is getting kind of dusky out. So, but yeah, I'm just enjoying working this up because it's fun to see how the yarns play with one another. So yeah, that's The Shift by Andrea Mowry. She's also known as Renee Knits. It's a very popular pattern. A lot of podcasters I've seen are doing this pattern. And it's the type of cowl that stays on your neck. You don't have to, once it's on, you don't have to mess with it. So that's great. I am using a number 5 needle, which is, I think, what they call for in the pattern. I'm about on gauge. I don't think it matters all too much with this type of accessory. Yeah, really enjoying that. I'm just into starting the 3rd color, as you can see on top here. So yeah, highly recommend. I'm having fun with that. That's really getting the creative juices flowing again. All right, so that's The Shift. And that's it for projects. Like I alluded to, I'll be going to Harrisville Designs to take a week-long class with Donna Kay at the end of September. It's actually September 30th that week. That is my next podcast day, but I am going to try to podcast a little earlier, maybe on the weekend, just so I can have one up and stay in the 2-week time period that I have for podcasting. My particular class is called Traditional Danish Sweaters. If you know Donna, she teaches kind of traditional patterns from all over the world. Last year was Bavarian stitching, and she's done classes on all sorts of different traditional types of knitting. So this year is Danish, and we're specifically kind of the takeoff book for this kind of knitting, or actually I should say the inspiration came from this book by Vivian Huxborough called Traditional Danish Sweaters. And I actually like the sweater on the front. There's a better picture of it here where we don't have all of the lettering and that sort of thing to kind of get in the way. Let me just make sure I'm covering up what I need to cover up. But basically, what these sweaters were they were worn as undergarments. And this book goes into a lot of the history behind the Danish sweaters and the patternings that go into it. So I am hoping to at least be able to get some of that history under my belt before I go. I'd like to read the front of the book here to make sure that I've got at least a little bit of background before I hit on doing one of these sweaters. And since this is a design class, it's 5 days long, so we'll be there the whole week in Harrisville, and we actually use their yarns, and Donna kind of goes through the design process, and you essentially can either use one of the patterns that she presents or in this book, or you can make one up yourself. So, and she's there to help you along the way. Really enjoy her classes. They're very laid back, and she usually has a lot of us like groupies following her in terms of making sweaters and that sort of thing. So yeah, so that's what I'm up to, and what I have been up to, the Tunbridge Fair. So I'll include some footage at the end here. And I think that's going to do it for me for this time around. I will see you definitely in 2 weeks before I hit the road to go to Harrisville. And until then, keep crafting, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon.
Turn two, it's number 2, Buster making Beaver in the lead at the end of the third quarter. Here comes number 2, Buster with Lady on his tail. Number 2 got it. Number 2, Boston Bacon Beaver. Number 2 figured to go to the bottom of the bleachers, duck under the yellow rock.